Hey everybody, it is Sarah with Paint and Party. I am going to paint this bright colored dandelion with you guys today. I woke up this morning and it's April 18th, I think, and we have snow on the ground. So I had planned on painting this bright painting, and here I am looking at snow, but hey, that's okay. It's supposed to be 80 this weekend, so we'll take it, okay? So I want to walk you guys through what I'm using here today. I've got my mixed media pad. So this one is mixed media, multi-technique. It's for acrylic, watercolor. You want to make sure it's not just a drawing pad. You want to make sure it can withstand the water and the acrylic paints. I've got some different paintbrushes here. I'm going to use this flat 3/4 inch paintbrush to do the outside. I've got a skinny brush that I'm going to use for my dandelion. And I will probably end up using this medium brush somewhere along the way. And then I've got some Q-tips that I'm going to use for the dandelion. So if you don't have any Q-tips, you could use kind of like a bushy brush if you wanted to. I am using kind of the whole rainbow of paints today. I've got red, orange, these are Craftsmart, yellow, green, this one is a folk art, blue, purple, and then I've got some just white and black in there as well. I've got my water jar and some napkins. So I think that's all we're gonna need today. This is a fun painting that you can make your own. If you wanted to change the colors around a little bit, if you wanted to, you know, completely change the color scheme, you could. You could do this really in any color, okay? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my purple and my large paintbrush, okay? I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me, I have been sneezing all morning. All right, so I'm gonna dip my brush in my water, okay? That's gonna help us make our paint go on a little bit more smoothly. And I just have a few of the colors on here right now, just because they tend to dry out and you can always add them as you go. All right, so I've got my purple paint watered down a little bit here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just start around the edges, okay? So everybody's, you know, paints might be a little bit different too as far as how bright they are. Sometimes purple can be like a little bit translucent, a little bit see-through. Sometimes you need to add a little bit of white to it to make it cover. But I'm gonna just kind of start here in this corner, test the water, see how it looks. And so what we're doing is we're mixing some of this bright blue in with our purple. So it's gonna give it a dimensional look where we've got both colors just kind of going through there, okay? Now, if you're painting on a canvas, you're gonna do the same thing. Just kind of mix those colors together. And if you like blue better than purple, you could always add more blue in. It's kind of up to you guys. It is your painting, okay? So the goal is we wanna make a circle about this size, okay? So what we want to do is we want to just kind of keep keep going around with our blue and purple mixture. So you can really just even take like a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple, just swoosh it on there. And I'm gonna put just a teeny bit of white on my brush. I'll show you guys what that does. So it just gives it another layer of that color, okay? Woo! That one went a little far. So the awesome thing about acrylics, which if you painted with me before, you've heard me say this, they're very easy to cover. So if I want to let that dry a little bit and then come back and darken that up, I can easily. Okay, so you'll notice I'm just going in kind of a circular motion here. And you can add water anytime. You just don't want to add too much water. Then it gets everything just kind of gets a little too light, starts to run down your page, and it's just kind of a mess. So okay, put a little bit of white over here. If you notice, I just kind of put it on there and I left it alone. Now, if you just keep going over it, you're gonna just end up with a light blue or a lavender. We want that white to be a little streaky, okay? And if you haven't put any water in your paint, I would recommend it. It's kind of like magic. It just makes it go on so much more smoothly. And don't be like me, I almost put it in my coffee cup. Would have been awesome. Okay. And we'll just keep going with the same brush stroke. Okay, almost there. Now, like I said, you can make this as light or as dark as you want to. If you want to add more white in. It's best to blend it when it's wet. And I know that I paint a lot faster than you guys typically, so always pause me and finish up. Take your time. It's not a race. I just paint a lot faster than everyone else. Okay. Alrighty. So I think I might add just a smidge more white in where this paint is wet here. Now, let's see if my circle is, okay, I think I want to straighten out my circle just a little bit. So I've got my brush on the skinny side here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, it really isn't the end of the world if it's a little off. And you could always take a smidge of like that lighter purple and just kind of come around the edge here. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. I'm just kind of softening that up a little bit here. This is kind of one of those backgrounds that you could just like keep going and adding layers and blending. It's kind of fun. And again, like I said, the nice thing is if you go and you're like, man, I really don't like that corner right there or whatever, just let it dry a little bit and go over it again. The key is letting it dry. Okay. So I think I'm pretty happy. As I keep painting, it's sometimes hard to put the brush down. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put that big brush in the water. And I want to just add some more colors here. Okay, so the way this is going to work is we've got our stem, we've got the center of our dandelion. We're going to do some little lines that go out, and then the last thing we're going to do is put all those little dots. Okay. So I want to make sure I've got my skinny brush, and I've got some green paint and some black paint. Okay, so I made the stem green, but you could make it black if you wanted to. I made the stem green and then the little lines black. Okay. So I want to make sure we get this good and dry before we put the lines out, but we can start with the center and then we'll kind of work from there. Okay, so skinny mini brush, black paint, not a lot. We're almost just going to sketch this on. Okay, so it's not quite in the center. We're up a little bit. And it's kind of like an oval. It's not really a circle. Okay, it's like a flat oval. Okay, and this doesn't have to be, you know, like perfect lines. We're gonna go over it again. It's gonna have some shading on it. Okay. You could also use like a paint pen. You could use a Sharpie if you wanted to. Just make sure your paint is really good and dry before you do any lines on this purple. Okay. Okay, so from here, we're going to start to make these little lines that come out. Okay, so they're slightly curved, they're not straight. Okay, and there's no exact rhyme or reason. to exactly where they go. We're going to do one there. And then I'm going to make a little shorter one. And I'm just going to kind of continue to go around and do, I think I'll do a really small one there. And these are going to have those little dots on top of it. So if you have any that, you know, get a little wonky on you or whatever, you can always cover them up with some of those little dots. So I just added a little bit of water to my paint. There's, you can add too much to black. You don't want it to drip, but sometimes it makes it go on a little easier. If you add a little bit of water. Okay, so these down here, I'm gonna just kind of curve a little bit different direction. And this again, you know, if you're struggling with these, a lot of people hate this detail work. Grab a Sharpie. It's still, you know, you're still drawing, you're still creating. Okay, so I'm gonna do a couple little ones in there, and I'm just light touch. Okay. So I'm gonna make this one up here kind of curve the other way. You could make them all go the same direction, but I kind of like the look of having them so they're a little bit, some going some direction and some going the other. Okay. Let's put a long one right there. The nice thing is too, you can always go back in and you can always go back in and add some or make some longer. And now that you have the kind of basics of how we're doing this, you could do all kinds of stuff with these flowers. You could do like 3 small ones on a different background. You could make the paint come all the way into the center and do, you know, multiples. You could do whatever you want. You could create all kinds of things with this. And if you look on like Pinterest for dandelion paintings, I'm sure you'll find some really good inspiration. Okay, we're about there. I'm gonna do one here. Sometimes when you're using these little liner skinny brushes, if they get a lot of paint in them, sometimes rinsing them out and just sort of starting over goes a long way. So it's always okay to do that. Put a couple little ones in here. Okay, now I'm gonna fill in this center a little bit. We're gonna go back and put some white on it, but just kind of clean it up a little bit here. Okay. I think it looks like a spider at this point. But once we start to add the stem and some more elements in, it's gonna come together. Okay. All right, so I'm rinsing my skinny brush, getting that black out of there. I'm gonna dip it in the water again. I'm gonna take some green. And I want to take a teensy bit of black. What that's going to do is just make us a dark green color. You could make it bright green if you wanted. I just kind of like that dark green look. And you're not going to need a lot of paint. So you can see I just mixed up a little bit. Okay. So my stem starts down here in the purple. We're gonna just sort of angle up and come right into the flower. And I just went right over one of those black things because that's just where it made sense. Uh-oh, what happened there? Got a little crazy with my purple there, I guess. Okay. Now you could always add some little green ones in if you wanted to. If you feel like making it brighter. I wouldn't put a whole lot because they'll get covered up by the colors, but it will just add a little bit to your painting. You might be saying, Sarah, I thought I was done with those little lines. So you don't have to do them. All right, now what I want to do, I've still got a little bit of green on my brush and I'm kind of okay with that. I'm going to come into the center and I'm going to shade it a little. So super light with some white. Super light touch. Okay, and you can see how that looks. Let's see. Might try to cover my boo-boo up a little bit there. I don't know how I did that. Sometimes this backfires, but I think it's going to cover okay. There we go. Okay. Now comes the fun part, in my opinion. So we're going to add these colors and make our flower, okay? So you can make them come out as far as you want. I just did kind of right around the edge. And I'm going to add some more colors. So I've already got some green. I've already got some red. I've already got purple and blue. So I'm going to add orange, yellow. I think that's it. I'm going to add a little bit more green. Mine is kind of yucky. And I do have a little bit of pink in there, but I'm just going to mix the red and the white together. Okay. So I'm going to start with the yellow just because it is bright and cheery. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a Q-tip, stick it in there. And we're going to dab. If you push light, you don't get quite as big of a circle. So I'm doing like a section about this big. If you want to start smaller, you can. You can always go back and add. I'm going to put some out here on the purple. Make sure your black is dry. Sorry, I should have said that before. Okay. And put some orange on the other end. Okay. I'm just gonna set this little guy aside and I'm gonna switch to red. Now I say whenever I do this, like I'm like, okay, a little bit more conservative because you can always go back and add them. It's kind of hard to take away. You could even go in with the paintbrush and add some smaller ones if you want to. Okay. Add some green over here. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of green, but and I'm just kind of putting a little bit into the yellow. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more red down here. I just think that brightens it up a little. Okay, now I'm gonna add some white in with my red, just because I like the pink. You don't have to do the pink if you don't want to. so I just added that together, and I'm just gonna do some pink just because I like it. Okay. Now let's do some purple. And blue. Okay. Now I want to take my little brush, and remember guys, take your time please on doing this. It's you know, it's fine if it takes you longer than me. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of yellow, and I just want to go in and just add some teeny little dots. Just kind of fill in where I feel like it needs a little extra. I'm gonna wipe that off, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the orange here. Okay. We'll do some red. Some more down here. So I think this is so fun. And you know, you could totally do this with kids too. Depending on how old they are, they may not be as great with the lines, but I think it would be a super fun painting to do with kids. So I am just making this red come down like it's kind of falling in the wind. I'm gonna do the same with a little bit of pink here. Okay. Now I'm gonna rinse my brush. Still gonna add a little bit more of the purple, the blue, and the green. Some skinny little ones down here, and I'm just barely touching. Okay. It's looking so bright. All right, a little bit more blue here. And some green. And it's okay to make these thick, guys. You can let this dry for hours. And you know, of course, if you want to add any other colors in, like a turquoise or whatever. You can make it your own. All right, I'm gonna rinse that skinny brush. And I just want to go over my stem a little bit more down here. I just feel like it needs a little more paint. Ta-da! Okay guys, so that's it. Easy peasy. Super fun. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, like I said, try it out with different variations, different things, different colors. It's a great technique that you can do like different ways. So let me know what you come up with. I hope you enjoyed this one. And as always, you know, if you have questions or need anything, just let me know. I will talk to you guys really soon. Have a great day.